Hello, welcome to a bonus episode from the Holmes Movies podcast with me, Anders Holmes. This episode, I'm going to be reviewing Zack Snyder's Justice League, which just came out last week on HBO Max. I saw it here in Denmark on HBO Nordic, and I was pleasantly surprised by how much I really enjoyed this movie, and I was also surprised that this film has actually become a thing. It has become a reality. The once mythical Snyder Cut has been released to the world, and I think over the last few years, there has been quite a bit of toxicity from certain corners of the DC fandom, and I do not condone any of that sort of stuff. I think there has been, I've seen online where people have given sort of negative reviews, and there have been people attacking the critics for giving negative reviews because they didn't like that film that they really wanted, and some of them have been female critics, and I do not like that. That is bad. I think I mean Mark Kermode said this on his review of the film, and he said you don't deserve cinema if you do that, and I have to sort of agree with him on that one. That's just not right, and it's just not cool to do that, and you just paint a very dirty picture of yourself. So I'm not going to be talking about, the fandom and the Snyder Cut fandom and the cult around that sort of stuff. I'm not going to be talking about that. I'm just going to be talking about the film, which I have been very interested and excited to watch. And, I went to go see the original cut of Justice League in 2017. I knew about all the sort of behind the scenes stuff. There was a lot of course correction because Batman versus Superman was a critical disaster, and Suicide Squad, which that was an even bigger critical disaster. I really liked Suicide Squad. I hope that someday we get to see David Ayer's cut of the film, his original cut. But yeah, I mean, for a long time, it seemed like this movie was never going to come out. It just seemed like a pipe dream for many people. All the petitions, all the hashtags, release the Snyder Cut, and then last year, Zack Snyder said, "Yeah, we're gonna release my cut of the film." There was a lot of talk about if it was going to be a miniseries and if it was going to be like a long film, and yeah, it was a lot of talk about that. So yeah, it exists. It's 4 hours long. It is a big movie. Lots of stuff is going on in it. A lot of it is fun. A lot of it is good. There is some bad stuff in it. But yeah, overall, I was much more satisfied with this film than I was with the original one, which came out in 2017. And I don't think the film needed to be 4 hours long. I think you could have easily you could have had this cut of the movie and then just trim it down to maybe 3.5 hours, or maybe even 3 hours, or even made a compromise with Zack Snyder. Okay, we will allow your vision to be seen on the screen. Just keep to this runtime, and then later we'll release the extended cut with the theatrical cut. And but given what was going on in Zack Snyder's personal life, that didn't happen. But yeah, I'm really happy that he was able to release his vision and release the film that he wanted to make. I get the impression that he's ready to move on. There's some sort of closure with all this stuff and with the release of this film. And I feel like, yeah, this is what, these were all these ideas that I had. I don't think we're going to get a chance to do them, but at least, I've, released the film that I wanted to show back, all those years ago. And I really am happy for him, and I think he comes across as like a really, really great guy, and I've been a big fan of his since Dawn of the Dead, since I saw his Dawn of the Dead film as a teenager, and that admiration carried on into 300 and also into his adaptation of Watchmen, which I do like, even though it's not. Even though it does have some. I do have some issues with that film. I do like his style as a director. I've liked the feeling I get from his films. There's a lot of emotions that one could get. I'm not saying like all of his films are of stellar quality, and there are some that are better than others, but I genuinely do feel the passion that comes from his films, even if sometimes the narrative falters and it's a little bit wonky. And I was not the biggest fan of Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman when they first came out. Over the last few years, I have warmed up to them, and I've appreciated those films a little bit more. Granted, I do feel their narrative I do feel like the narrative elements are quite clunky and a little bit convoluted and just bursting at the seams. And, some of the execution of all these ideas that Snyder's playing around with don't always pay off. But you still do feel the passion. He is a very talented filmmaker, and he knows how to get people excited, and he knows how to move an audience. And I do feel like some of his thematic elements and his imagery can be a little bit on the nose, but overall I really dig him as a filmmaker. So yeah, a lot has been said about Justice League over the years. For a while it was unsure if there was a Snyder Cut of Justice League that he had somewhat completed before departing the film, along with his wife and producer Deborah Snyder. He had directed the film throughout principal photography in 2016, and he had stepped down during post-production due to the suicide of his daughter, and that is such a massive tragedy to come to terms with and to deal with while making such a monumentous film. And I really feel for him, and he has done a lot for charities dealing with suicide prevention, and there have been a lot of donations to suicide prevention charities over the years, and he's been a huge integral part of that. And I understand why he needed to step down and be with his family. And, judging from a recent article from Vanity Fair, on top of dealing with his daughter's suicide, he was dealing with the process of working with Warner Brothers, who were pretty much on damage control after what happened with Batman versus Superman and Suicide Squad. And, like I said, I like Suicide Squad in a guilty pleasure kind of way, and I'm not ashamed to say that. And Joss Whedon, who had worked with Marvel before, he was brought on to do rewrites and oversee putting the film together. And he was just there to help complete the film when Zack Snyder had stepped down, and but direct the movie as Zack Snyder would direct it. And he's also credited on the screenplay. I think he wrote like 80 new pages for the film. And the reshoots were a lot more extensive than we initially thought. There was a lot of behind-the-scenes course correction, and that very much clouded the release of the movie. And the result was rightly described as a Frankenstein movie, where it was both a Zack Snyder film, and it was a Zack Snyder film and it was a Joss Whedon movie. And Joss Whedon strangely left his mark on a film that wasn't really his. And his trademark snappy pop culture dialogue and quips did not mesh with this grim and dark interpretation of these classic DC characters. And a lot of his inputs to the film did not work, and they were jarring. And you really do feel the reshoots when you watch the original cut of Justice League. Also, a majority of the CGI is not that well defined, and it really sticks out, but not as much as Henry Cavill's CGI lower jaw. Because he was working on the reshoots for Justice League while he was also making Mission Impossible Fallout, and he was not allowed to shave his beard. And that was the film we got. And I never hated the movie, but it's not as good as it could have been, and it wasn't the film that was promised in the trailers. I wasn't very satisfied, and sadly in many ways it is a mediocre film, but it's still kind of watchable. And despite all the petitions, all the tweets bearing the hashtag release the Snyder Cut, all the small minority of like toxic fandom clouding the Twitterverse, it seemed like the Snyder Cut would never see the light of day. But now we have it. Our cinematic prayers have been answered, for better or worse, and we finally have Zack Snyder's definitive version of Justice League. It is a long-ass movie. It's longer than Martin Scorsese's The Irishman and Avengers Endgame, and it is shot and presented in a 4:3 aspect ratio. It looks great, and the cinematography from Fabian Wagner was splendid, and it is shown off better in this film than it was in the other one. And, again, I'm very happy for Zack Snyder that he was given the creative freedom to finish off this film. And, I was mainly going to watch this just out of interest, just to see what this movie was going to be about and how different it was from the 2017 film, which is now commonly known as Justice League. And it surprised me. It was pretty damn good. It wasn't perfect, and maybe it was a little too long. I mean, the ending that they shot last year in October does drag the film out a little bit, and it reminded me a little bit of this. It reminded me a little bit of the never-ending conclusion of Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. And I mean, that epilogue set in the Mad Max Fury Road nightmare world where everything is like, death all around. It's, this dystopian apocalyptic nightmare. Like that whole sequence, I can take it or leave it, and it does play out like, a teaser for a film that it will probably never show up in the future. But, I can either take it or leave it, and it is kind of fun to see Ben Affleck's Batman and Jared Leto's Joker share scenes together, and I thought that was quite fun. And I'm sad we never got a chance to see Ben Affleck's Batman with that he was going to write and direct, and Joe Manganiello, who plays Deathstroke, he was going to be in the film as the villain, and they do set that up with the Lex Luthor scene at the end of the film. I mean, I was kind of looking forward to that, but at least, we have Matt Reeves' film with Robert Pattinson on the way, and I'm really looking forward to that. So, I mean, it's a shame that Ben Affleck never got, to play Batman more, and I can understand his reasons and all that stuff, and I think, from a personal point of view, I think it would have been very difficult for him to do the film, and I think he was going through a lot of personal issues during this time. And, the enthusiasm for the role kind of left him, and I can understand all that sort of stuff, why he didn't do it. I'm still sad we never got a chance to see it. And, maybe, hopefully maybe we'll see him in the new Flash movie. I'm not too sure. But yeah, I mean, out of the three the DC Extended Universe films that Zack Snyder has directed, I think this is by far the best one that he's done and my top favorite. And, this was the film I really wanted to see back in the cinemas in 2017. And I just really wished Warner Brothers just bit the bullet and took a chance. I mean, the Snyderverse trilogy gets redeemed in the last minute. It rights the wrongs of Justice League and redeems and saves what was a mediocre film that had a better one inside it. I think it was just really just exciting. It's operatic, it's bombastic, it's just epic filmmaking, like a perfect definition of epic filmmaking. And the Tom Holkenborg Junkie XL soundtrack, the music that he wrote for the film is just great. I love his music. It's really, really great. And, I think the most important thing that I could really say about the film is, like, it's a very coherent movie. It's more coherent, and it flows better than the last one. Like, the storyline and the characters this time around were much more engaging. You could massively resonate with them, and they had personality, and they had reason to be in the film, and they offered something to the team. And Joss Whedon really took a lot of that away and he really took a lot away from them that made them interesting, and he strangely made them caricatures and hokey. I mean, the film needs to be 4 hours long to introduce those characters and flesh them out. And, in many ways, it would have been nice to have like a standalone film with those characters before they were in Justice League, like do what Marvel did, have Iron Man and then, Hulk and then Iron Man 2 and then Thor and Captain America. They could have done something like that, like Man of Steel, maybe a Man of Steel 2, maybe a standalone Batman movie, maybe Aquaman, The Flash, Cyborg, and then Justice League, and then do all the other films that you were going to do after that. But yeah, I mean, they were just trying to do something a little bit different from Marvel and not trying to do, and maybe trying to catch up with them, but not copy them at the same time. And the 4 hour runtime fleshes out the characterization of all the members of the Justice League, and it returns that much needed substance that was lacking from the original cut. Altogether, this made for a satisfying and entertaining movie because, the characters were restored from how they were originally supposed to be shown on the screen, and the performances are far superior in this film. Ben Affleck's performance as Batman and Bruce Wayne is consistent from BVS and less jokey and quippy as he was in Justice League. Like, I really like Ben Affleck as Batman. I really was supportive of him playing Batman when it was announced that he was going to be the character in Batman vs. Superman. I know there were a lot of people who were like, what? No, not what? Ben Affleck? Fuck no. Who the fuck is going to be Robin? Fucking Matt Damon? And no, it's bad casting. Ugh. And then we saw the movie and he was like, and we were all like, he was actually one of the best things about that movie. Damn, he was really good. I take back every bad thing I said about him. Yeah, and I mean, he really excelled in the role, and I enjoyed his interpretation. Wonder Woman, played by Gal Gadot, is still the best part of the DCEU. I really like I saw the old Wonder Woman from 2017 with Gal Gadot, the standalone movie, and that still is pretty damn good and represents how good and how, in many ways great the DCU EU can be. And I haven't seen the sequel yet, but I've heard that it's not as good. But I mean, Gal Gadot is still charismatic as hell in the role, and I appreciated how they took a lot of the sort of male gazy aspects from the theatrical cut, because there are a lot of moments in that where it's very uncomfortable in some moments, and I do like how they don't sexualize the way that Gal Gadot looks in the film. And that really like unnecessary and peculiar shot of the Flash falling on Wonder Woman is thankfully removed, and that was definitely a Joss Whedon input, and I'm very happy that was taken out of the film. Henry Cavill has the same amount of screen time as he did in the original film, and he seems to be much more comfortable in the role and has a great cathartic arc as Superman. I thought his performance and his role in the movie was much more enjoyable to watch and much more interesting. And there was none of that really bad like CGI around his lower lip area that was used to, remove the mustache. He just looked better in the film. Like, just, it was like, I think they were doing something really interesting with that character, and I hope Henry Cavill gets to play him again in a future film, because he was, I've warmed up to him. He just seemed to have more purpose in this film. Amy Adams and Diane Lane are sadly not given that much to do, but the scenes that they share together are far more substantial in this film and are a little bit more emotive, and like genuinely everyone benefits from all the restored original footage. Particularly Jason Momoa, Ezra Miller, and Ray Fisher. Ray Fisher is the film's MVP. He really was the heart of the film, and he had the most moving and empathetic arc. They really did him dirty by cutting a lot of his scenes out and not giving him any purpose to be in the film in the original cut. I feel his role as Victor Stone, aka Cyborg, is going to be a very inspirational role for many people, particularly people of color and those who are disabled. Like, he really gives it his all, and there is enthusiasm and pathos behind his line delivery and presence, and there's so much he is able to emote, and it makes for a captivating character. And this is like his first big film, and he's really able to hold his own against like Ben Affleck and Gal Gadot and all these other actors, and he really stands out. He could easily lead a standalone Cyborg film. And, Ezra Miller, who plays the Flash, he's set for his movie, which has been long gestating with many filmmakers coming and going. And his character of Barry Allen was better presented in this version and feels more along the lines with the other characters. Feels a lot more along the lines with the other characters in Snyder's DCU films. And along with Ray Fisher, he was also given a poignant arc. Both these characters were expanded upon and they were developed far better. And, we were made to care for these characters. We barely got a chance to do that in the 2-hour version of Justice League that Joss Whedon did, as everything was moving at a much quicker pace. Like, even Jason Momoa, who plays Aquaman, he's given a much more genuine introduction, and he excels as Arthur Curry. And this film perfectly sets his character up for his own film that James Wan directed, that came out in 2018. And that film is just a big ball of fun. That's like a Saturday morning cartoon film come to life. Like, I really, really did not expect that much from the Snyder Cut. I'm really happy that it exists. I really hope that Warner Brothers learns some lessons from this little quick and redundant course correction, because it really kind of made the whole universe that they were making for these DC characters very messy. As much as I really want to see a continuation of these films with these characters, and, as much as I want to see the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad, I know that there's a chance that, that this is not going to happen. And I think they've made that point known that, they're happy that the film exists, and they're happy that the fans got what they wanted. But I think it's it seems like people are moving on from this and are moving on to different projects, and, moving on to like brighter horizons, and there's a sense of closure with the release of this film. I mean, Zack Snyder seems to have moved on. I mean, he's got a new movie coming out on Netflix, Army of the Dead, which looks awesome. And yeah, I mean, whether we get it's still very up in the air. I mean, I hope in some ways they could change their minds and do these movies again, or I don't know. But I'm fine either way. If they do it or they don't do it, I'm fine either way. I'm just happy that this film exists, and Zack Snyder was given the creative freedom to make this film. And yeah, like, I was pleasantly surprised, and I really dug this film. And yeah, it is a glorious, messy, exciting, action-packed epic with extremely moving performances. And I'm not saying that I'm going to burn my copy of the original film, but this was a vast improvement over that one. And more importantly, I really love the tribute that Zack Snyder gave to his daughter at the end of the film, where it says "For Autumn." That was a really nice, touching moment. And this movie was made for her, and I think it's nice that he was able to finish this film and not move on from a certain point of his life. And I feel like like I said, this movie is about closure, and and I feel like we've all gotten that. I mean, I feel like that. It's nice that the film was made, and people have reacted to it in a very positive way. I mean, of course, there are some people who don't like it, and that's fine. I'm not going to attack people for hating the movie. I mean, I understand the reasons for not liking the film, and I think people should just not take it so personally, because that just ruins it for the rest of us. But yeah, really enjoyed the film. It was fun. Some aspects could have been improved, but overall, yeah, I really liked it. So yeah, that's my review of Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League, the Snyder Cut. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do one of these little solo episodes again. It will be a bonus episode for sure, with released with another episode of the podcast that me and Adam do. So yeah, do check this episode out if you like it. I'll do more of them. I'm not gonna do so many of them that they overshadow all the stuff that me and Adam do. But yeah, I hope that you like this episode, and if people react warmly to this, then I'll do more of them. But I don't know if it's going to be like a weekly thing or something I do now and again. But yeah, do check back and subscribe to the podcast, and do stay tuned for other episodes of our podcast. There's going to be more recommendation episodes. There's the last three Bond Backwards episodes coming up, and yeah, we've got some stuff planned, so do subscribe and follow the podcast and stay tuned for that. I've been Anders Holmes. Thank you very much for listening to my review of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Have a good day and stay safe.